So we just chanted Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. What's that mean?
Salutations to the God Vasudeva.
Yes, yes. Actually, what's Vasudev mean? Yes, yes. And what's Vasudev mean? Actually, you said it just before. It means all pervading. The all pervading Lord is Vasudev. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto the all pervading Lord. And on top of that, that means I offer my respectful obeisances, indicating also Krishna, who's the son of Vasudeva. So here's what we are going to do. We are going to read from Bhagavad Gita. There's a verse in the second chapter that I should have been more prepared to have out, but I don't have it out, so just give me one moment to look at it. But it's the verse that says how to be protected from the greatest type of fear. Does anyone know which verse that is, Mukunda? It's the Buddha Yoga verse. It's somewhere in the mid to end of the second chapter. 240? Okay. Yes, this is exactly what I was looking for. Thank you, Adya. Everyone go to chapter 2, verse 40. Okay. So we chanted our invocation prayers. Now we'll chant the verse, the Sanskrit. Neha bhikramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate svalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhaya. Anyone else want to give it a go? Adya? Neha bhikramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhaya. All right. Repeat after me. Na, there's not. Iha, in this world. Abhikrama, endeavoring. Nasha, loss. Asti, there is. Pratyavayaha, diminution. Na, never. Vidyate, there is. Swalpam, little. Api, although. Asya, of this. Dharmasya, of this occupation. Trayate, releases. Mahata, a very great. Vayat, from danger. Translation, in this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution. In little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Okay, so the path that they're talking about here is the path of Buddhi Yoga. What is Buddhi? Not like, yes, intelligence, yes. Not like booty, like the American booty. It's Buddhi, yes, Buddhi. So I was talking about siddhis the other day, and Piyush was like, "What are you saying, cities, or what do you?" So I'm sorry, I'm not born with these this type of pronunciation, but I'm doing my best. So Buddhi Yoga is the yoga of intelligence, merging our intelligence in the absolute. So a little endeavor on this path will protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. What's the most dangerous type of fear? Do you know? Suspense. The most dangerous type of fear will be explained in the purport. So it's actually, before we get to the purport, it's losing the very rare opportunity from which we should be so grateful for, that we all have currently. And if we lose it, um, yeah, it'll be a big, big loss. So anyhow, I'll leave you in suspense. Let's read. What? Yes, the human form of life. The human form of life is such a gift you should be grateful for. That you're not struggling in the cold with the deer or the squirrels or the plant life. That you have been given, your soul has been given a human form of life. And yet, we live like polished animals, to be quite honest with you. I don't want to offend. But what are the four main concerns of animal life or even plant life? Does anyone know? Yes, but you forgot one important one. Eating, yes. Eating, where's food? Sleeping, what is my arrangements to sleep nicely? Um, Mating, where is my partner that I can release my sexual urge upon? And then defending, acquiring so many things, and then defending others from trying to take it. You know, whether it's a little nest or a den or a big house or procuring a nice career and things like this for yourself. But actually, this is all animalistic activity. What actually gives the human being a leg up? What can a human being practice that the animal life and the plant life cannot? Yes. Well, they also have consciousness, but you could there's a word Purusha that is like the enjoyer or the observer of consciousness. But there are some Purusharthas. There that which is wealthy to the Purusha. What is that? And those are not wealth. Those are not value. The value. Kama is part of it, but not Krodha and Lobh. So the first is Dharma, right? The first of the Purusharthas is Dharma. We can practice religion. We have set duties we can do. We can practice a system of religion, the system of Dharma. So in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks a lot about karma and dharma. Arjuna, this is your dharma. You should fight. Why are you rejecting your dharma? Adya, you're a student. Why are you rejecting your student duties for this, that, and the other reason? You know, so like this is our dharma. You know, we can't. Well, Krishna does give you a way to give up dharma, but you can only give up certain lower rules if there's a higher rule at present. So that's that Bhagavad Gita teaches you the progression, the step ladder of rules. So anyhow, it's dharma, then artha. Using your dharma, using your way to naturally follow a religious life, you'll cultivate wealth in this world. This is artha. And it'll only be worth it if you do it in a dharmic way, lest you'll have to suffer certain karmas and your wealth will be taken from you in ways that won't be pleasant for you. Our wealth will all be taken from us anyway, no matter what wealth we acquire in this world at death. But there's a way to wholesomely attain the wealth and also wholesomely give up the wealth. But if we don't acquire wealth by just means, it will leave us in a more interesting way. Um, and then Artha gives you facility for Kama, which our friend back there was talking about. Kama is following the dharmic processes for license sense gratification. This usually means having a family life, having children, having nice food stuff. But there's a way to properly do that, to offer your food stuff to the Lord, to offer your family to the Lord in some way or another. You know, this is one of the hopes we're trying to teach. And then ultimately, to realize the limitation of cultivating worldly dharma, gathering worldly wealth, and obtaining worldly sense pleasure, you'll realize the necessity for moksha, the final purushartha, which is to be liberated from the actual sufferings that these things all cause. So this is the purusharthas, that which is valuable to the soul. But ultimately, the fear is that we could even lose this opportunity to even practice like this. So actually there's one path of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita talks about 4 paths, but actually it culminates in one path. What is the one path? And each path is just a rung on a step ladder to get to the next rung. What is the one path? All the Vedas are prescribing. Everything is leading to. What is the one path of the soul? You live here, Tanmay. What is it? What did someone else? What is it? What is the main path that Krishna is explaining in Bhagavad Gita? You've all heard of Bhagavad Gita. So what is he saying in this Bhagavad Gita? You want to say? What's that? Karma is step 1, but it's not the main essence. Actually, at one point, karma would be to do one's dharma, but the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is sarva dharma parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. That's abandon all forms of dharma and what? Yes, and what process is that? Bhakti, yes. Actually, every system is needed by bhakti, because bhakti, the faith of any system, even just doing karma in the material world, you have faith in the karma. You have faith that if I do this action, I'll get this result. If you have faith, if you check all the boxes that your school teachers and professors put out for you, that you'll get a certain result. And you have faith that if you follow all the requirements that the visa, the government restrictions in the US put on you, you'll get a certain result. So you have faith in the system. Actually, this alone is bhakti. You have faith in the Lord in some way, but you have faith in maybe the Lord's karmic system that you can observe. So this actually is what impels you to do what you do, that you have faith. Believe it or not, faith is the foundation of why everybody does exactly what they do. Now, the Lord is actually leading us ultimately through karma, realizing though the limitations of acquiring fruits. We have the nature to want to do our karma and acquire the fruits of the karma, right? So, okay, I'm going to work and then I get some money and then I can use that money for anything I want. Let's say I want to help my parents. Let's say I want to make sure a wife won't leave or a husband won't leave, or I can raise the family. Whatever it is, we acquire our fruits and then we put it in certain places. But ultimately, it's limited. Why is karma? Why is getting the fruits? The karma full. Why is that? Why is that limited? You know this, it's obvious. You don't have that much time. Why? Someone. What's that? It binds you to this material world, and then also, you're that's one thing, but if we're attached to the material world, but we can't stay here, what happens? Yes. And we suffer. Why? Because we lose everything. Everything is lost. All of your karma full, all the fruits you work all your life for, everything is lost. This is actually the work of an insane person. And we're all actually mad in this world. This is the unfortunate circumstance. We're all mad because we work so hard our whole life for things that we can never keep. That'll all leave. Every bit of it will be taken. Every bit of wealth, even by following Dharma and acquiring wealth, every bit of kama or sense gratification. These are all just fleeting pleasures. The taste of the tongue, the feelings of the exchanges of romance. All these things they'll come and then they'll go. So what will actually stay? And that Krishna is talking about the eternal process. And from karma, you would start to practice karma yoga. What is karma yoga? Yes, doing your duties, not being attached to the results and offering that result to the godly in some way, for a God-given purpose. So maybe you're inclined, your nature is to be a student, or your nature is to work in some field or another field. And so you take some of the results of that, the fruits of that, which would say maybe be money, maybe be your home, maybe be your family, and you offer something back to the Lord in some way. This is karma yoga. But actually, this is bhakti. Everything is bhakti. It's all leading you through bhakti, but it's just the most junior, it's like the kindergarten of bhakti. You start with karma yoga. Just like if you want to do advanced mathematics, if you can't do addition and subtraction, you're in trouble. If I try to get up and do calculus, but oh wait, I don't know how to add and subtract, and what's to speak of multiply and divide, there's no calculus going to be done. So actually, to do advanced levels of bhakti, if you can't learn the lessons of karma and karma yoga, you'll be limited. So Krishna, that's why he gives a progression. And from actually doing the karma yoga, offering your fruits to the Lord in whatever way you can, you'll gain jnana. It's the natural fruit. You'll gain more and more knowledge about why attaching to these material things. And your detachment will become stronger and stronger and stronger. By, for instance, you give away that which you earn to some degree. Or offer it in, like here we're trying to offer the same finances that you guys are raising, the same, all of these things, but we're trying to offer it back to the Lord. So like, all right, let's use all these resources for God-given purposes, godly purposes. This, in essence, this is like our karma yoga. And it's teaching us the value more and more, how anything that we try and hold on to ourselves is more and more useless. And we're cultivating jnana. And from actually jnana, the fruit of jnana, when you acquire enough jnana about the nature of this world, you're not so inspired to do so much karma. Oh, we got to do this, and now we got to do this, and now we got to do this. You're just like kind of like, you know what? Let me meditate and let me really figure out what is really the essential thing that I have to do. And so you would advance to what's called like the yoga process, or the dhyana yoga, the introspective yoga, meditational yoga. And then ultimately, what you'll find in there is that you'll find a paramatma eventually, in the yoga process at least. And that paramatma, you'll realize, is the source of all existence and really the source of life. And then you'll get something called sambandha jnana. Sambandha means relationship. Jnana means knowledge. You'll have knowledge of your relationship with the Godhead. And so from there, the only conclusion is bhakti. The Godhead is the foundation of existence. Even our modern scientists are proving this, that there's some level of Brahman realization in quantum physics, that they're discovering that everything is consciousness. And this is also the Veda conclusion. But then the Paramatma, they haven't discovered even the existence of the Atma in modern science as of yet, nor the Paramatma, the Supreme Soul underlying the Atma. And they never will, because how can you diagnose that which is beyond the purview of limited senses with faulty limited senses? Like even our modern scientists, they've already diagnosed that the human eye and the human ear can only pick up, the closest whole number it can pick up of the sound and light spectrum is 0%, in comparison to what their technology can pick up. Now, if we live in an infinite universe, and there's an infinite amount of sound and light spectrum that their technology can't pick up, it doesn't matter whether let's say, we put it into a measurement. Our human senses have acquired one measurement of sound and light, and their technology has acquired 250 measurements of sound and light. But if you put any number, even if it's 5 billion, their technology, if you put any number over infinity, what's the answer? Get your calculators out. What's that? It's like practically zero. In an infinite universe is what our modern... So that means that with our human eyes and ears and all our material science and everything we're discovering, we are discovering 0% of reality. This should humble us. This should humble us. So, the most dangerous type of fear is we can lose this human form of life. So one of the things we should be so grateful for is that you have the human form of life. And it said, how do we lose the human form of life? Is if we don't take to at least the Purushartha process. If we don't take it all to the dharmic process, properly procure artha or wealth, properly have kama or sense gratification in this world, and then desire to achieve the jnana for moksha, to go up the step ladder. If you don't at least take that, you're in trouble. And so then you're just whimsically acting, just eating, sleeping, mating, defending, and rotating all of those activities as best as you can until you lose this life, and you might even lose the human form of life. Because what the consciousness focuses on throughout its life, it will focus on at death. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you guys have experienced this too, because I know there's a lot of Bollywood stuff in India, but in here in the West, we have like a lot of pop music and things like that as well. And sometimes it comes up in some topic of conversation, some word that reminds me of like an old song that I used to listen to. Next thing you know, I'm singing like this old song it's completely nonsensical. But it's amazing how easily my consciousness can just like go there. How deep the samskaras or the impressions are like within my consciousness. Why? Because this is why I spent so much time in my youth doing these things. So naturally, all it has to just be triggered by one small thing, and next my consciousness is there again. So actually, this is at death, when we're losing our body, it's a very, very traumatic experience. And as we're losing the body, what ends up happening is the consciousness, it travels in so many different ways based on what you did in your life. So if we fill our life with spiritual activities, it may be possible that at death we can bring the consciousness towards spirit. But if we focus it on the temporary materialistic things, and especially the gross materialistic things in which not even dharma is being practiced, we'll lose the human form of life, and we'll get an animal body. That, let's say your emphasis is very much on nice sleeping and food arrangements at death. Maybe you'll get a bear body. Bear body is very good for this. Maybe there's 8,400,000 species that you could get potentially. So it has to do with, and there's a perfect karmic suitable reaction for everybody. So we should be very grateful. We should be very grateful that we have this human form of life. Because it's only in this human form of life that you can actually practice any type of religious system, any type of dharma. And remember what are these things? These are the beginning of the highest path, which is ultimately, you could say, is the fifth Purushartha. No, that's not described like that. But this is bhakti. This is the foundation of everything. If one's relationship with the Lord in the process of attaining the goal of enacting in that relationship with the Lord. And this is what Krishna ultimately concludes Bhagavad Gita with. And how to do that is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're going to go to the Srimad Bhagavatam now. I just want to read one thing by Prabhupada in this purport. It's in the second of the third paragraph. It says, if someone gives up self-gratificatory pursuits and works in Krishna consciousness, and then falls down on account of not completing his work, meaning, okay, I'm going to perform a little bit of work on this path. What loss is there on his part? And what can one gain if one performs his material activities perfectly? This is actually a quote from the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17. When he actually compares it to what the Christians say. He says, or as the Christians say, what profiteth a man if he gains the whole world, yet suffers the loss of his eternal soul? I guess I'll read the last paragraph. Material activities and their results end with the body, but work in Krishna consciousness carries the person again to Krishna consciousness, even after the loss of the body. At least one is sure to have a chance in the next life of being born again as a human being, either in the family of a great cultured Brahmin or in a rich aristocratic family that will give one a further chance for elevation. That is the unique quality of work done in Krishna consciousness. So this is the Buddhi Yoga, to understand the Lord and use our intelligence to do those activities which are favorable to the Lord, and also reject those activities which are not favorable to the Lord. There's many activities that we can and do, and then these things are things that actually offer no spiritual fruit. Like, for instance, I don't know. I used to watch a lot of anime series. Anyone else watch anime? Yeah, okay. I used to watch a ton of anime series, and you know, and ultimately, there's very, very few deep spiritual concepts in anime. There's some, but very few. Um, yeah, like Avatar: The Last Airbender. There's something there, but ultimately you're not going to get a deep um, significance out of basic entertainments. I used to watch a ton of sports. I still find myself social media knows exactly what to pump into my consciousness and what will trigger my samskaras. And like football, all the football highlights or the baseball highlights and things I really used to like growing up, my phone knows that I'll pause and I'll look at it for a second or two or more. And next thing you know, it just keeps pumping those things into the AI until I just keep looking more and more and more. So anyhow, this is, they're preying on this samskara principle. But anyhow, these things are not valuable for my spiritual life. These things are not valuable for actually my consciousness of the absolute truth. This isn't, baseball and football and basic entertainments are not having nothing to do with the absolute truth. The absolute truth should be pursuing what is the ultimate meaning of life. How did I get here? What is controlling this? The Bhagavad Gita actually gives you the absolute truth. There's 5 subject matters of the absolute truth. The first is the jiva, who you are as the soul. Right away, Bhagavad Gita teaches you who the soul is, what the soul is, the soul's nature is eternal, indestructible, immortal. So that's the first. Then the Ishwar. Ishwar is what? Yeah, the controller, the God. And so now then there's the relationship, the sambandha jnana of what the jiva is, the infinitesimal soul that we all are, and the Bhagavan, the Ishwar. Then there's 3 more subject matters. What else? Karma. Activities. What activities in the world do? What are the fruits of those activities? That's part of it. We should know what are the consequences of all of our activities, And that's why they're talking about karma yoga in this section. If you don't offer your karma in yoga, the greatest fear is you could get a very bad result. And actually, we've gotten many, many bad results and many good results in our lifetimes. In this lifetime, you've probably noticed many things you did led to good results and many things you did led to bad results. True or false? Who has not noticed? You've all noticed. So karma is the subject matter. Then also kala. Kala is what? Time. Time. Yes, how time is taking everything. Moving and through time is the great destroyer of worlds. When Krishna reveals his universal form, they say, oh, Arjuna asks, who are you? And what does he say? Time I am, the destroyer of worlds, and I've come to destroy everything except you, the Pandavas. So at the time, he was going to destroy all of the army members fighting on both sides. So we have to know the nature of time and be sober about it. Our parents, our grandparents, our friends, us, our children, it's all going through the cycles of time. We should be sober. We should understand what's happening in this world. We shouldn't just think, yeah, life's just a party. Let's just eat, sleep, and drink, eat, drink, and be merry until it's over. No, it never ends. We should understand the reality of this existence. And then the last is Prakriti. What is Prakriti? Yeah, the material nature, consisting of the three modes, the gunas, the qualities of sattva, the qualities of rajas, which is passion, purity, goodness is sattva, and tamas, which is ignorance, which is the very thing that's bewildering us in this world. And how to overcome and rise through these modes of nature, how that we're being completely enslaved and entangled by these modes of nature. This is all explained in Bhagavad Gita. So be very grateful. Be very grateful that you actually have this opportunity. Because only in this human form of life will you get this opportunity. You know, I know Indians are less prone to have dogs than, say, the Western. At least it's, I know when I go to India now, it's more and more dogs are in, at least in the house, in the family. What's that?
It's expensive to have pets. It is not a very rich country to live in, so.
Yeah, expensive, and then also, there's certain traditional, from what I've noticed, cleanliness things where I know a lot of places they're like, no, we don't want to keep our animals in the house, you know. But in the West, we don't care about that. Like I have a dog at my family's home, you know. But actually, I much prefer the traditional Indian way, where it's like, no, I think animals are best outside the house. Yeah, this is common knowledge. I mean, the bubonic plague was that's how the bubonic plague spread, was animals in the living quarters and things like that. It's just not a good idea, at least for in some ways. But anyway, what was I talking about before that? I don't know why I got sidetracked. Cleanly now before that. Oh yeah, no, that's exactly it. The human form of life. Why I was mentioning this, because I was going to talk about like, oh, if you wouldn't just have your pets, but you can't have your pets come and have a spiritual discourse. You're not gonna, only the human form of life. This is the only type of existence where you can have a spiritual discourse, where you can actually, animals run completely off instinct. If you put a food in front of the cow or any animal, they will immediately take. If an animal is in heat and the instinct is there towards the sexual pursuit, it will not care who's watching. It'll go exactly right for that thing. But we have some discrimination in the human form of life. We know, oh, I should not do that. Or, okay, this is acceptable. Or, like this. So this is a very, very rare gift. And the fruit of this gift, actually, and what Krishna is, in the fruit of Bhagavad Gita, of all the knowledge of everything given in Bhagavad Gita, the fruit isn't knowledge at all, actually. It's bhakti. It's love and devotion unto me. So now I'm gonna take you guys. There was just something I wanted to read from the 10th canto of the Bhagavad. We were reading, my wife and I were reading it last night, and it talked about gratitude. So I just thought it would be really nice to actually mention it. And it's at the end of the chapter here. And so you guys heard about the Ras Leela before? Yes. So you probably heard. It's not necessarily recommended to skip right to speak talks of the Ras Leela. But one of the things that happens in the Ras Leela is that the gopis go out when Krishna is playing his flute to find him, and they're very eager to find him. And then he kind of tells them, oh, no, you ladies should do your dharma, you should go back. But because they were very advanced bhakti yogis, they were ready to give up all dharma, and because they wanted to enact in devotion to him. They wanted to ultimately give Bhagavan pleasure. That was their calling. So this is actually a very high level of bhakti. So what they ended up doing was that the Ras dance began, and there was lots of dancing and fun and a lot of pleasurable activities. But then the gopis, they had developed pride, because They think, oh, we're the most fortunate in the world. Bhagavan is paying me all this attention, and it's just for me. And I must be the most fortunate person in the world. So each gopi felt just like this. So what did Krishna do because he's the most detached? Does anyone know? He left them. He said, oh, no, they cannot have pride. So he left all of them. But it turns out that he went off with just one. But even her, that one that he went off with, who is understood to be the Srimati Radharani. But even after going off with her, eventually she felt this intense pride. And then also he left her too. So eventually the gopis, this painting here is actually depicting this exact pastime. What's that? Yes. During the Ras Leela?
After leaving the garden.
Yes. Once he left Vrindavan, the flute was abandoned. At least in this world, there's some different spiritual conclusions where what Krishna is doing in the spiritual world, but in his pastimes, leelas in this world, this is yes, yes, but this is before he left Vrindavan, of course, this pastime. But so what ended up happening is the gopis actually did the main process that we should do. So they started remembering Krishna very intensely, almost madly. And they just kept enacting and reciting all of Krishna's pastimes. This is actually one of the topmost. This is kirtan. Kirtan means to glorify. We were doing Nam Sankirtan, but they were doing Leela Sankirtan. They were reciting the different glories, the activities that Krishna had performed in their midst, because they were the village girls. So as they're doing this and they're begging for Krishna to return, and their hearts are more and more churning, and their desires for Krishna increasing. When they reached their peak, Krishna could not contain himself anymore, and he came back. And so upon coming back, the gopis are now chastising him a little bit. Why would you do this? And actually, this is what I'm going to read. The gopis said, some people reciprocate the affection only of those who are affectionate toward them, while others show affection even to those who are indifferent or inimical. And yet others will not show affection toward anyone. Dear Krishna, please properly explain this matter to us. I'm wanting to know, why were you so much not affectionate to us when we were clearly so affectionate to you? Sri Krishna said, so-called friends who show affection for each other only to benefit themselves are actually selfish. This is actually a lot of our nature of our friendships in this world. We think, all right, I'll benefit you, but I'm going to get something out of this, and we have this nature, and we should actually evaluate our relationships. All right, what do I have this type of relationship? They have no true friendship, nor are they following the true principles of religion or dharma. Indeed, if they did not expect benefit for themselves, they would not reciprocate. A lot of people, when we work jobs, this is exactly the case between us and our boss. It's like, all right, you pay me what I want to be paid, or what we agreed upon being paid, or I will not do any of the service like this. So actually better to find a deep calling. I like when you use the word calling for dharma, like a deep calling for what you do, because that calling will impel you to do this thing. Actually, I see there's one boy here. His name is Parth, and he just leaves all day, like 12 hours a day doing his work. And I'm so shocked. I'm like, Parth, there's no way. And I'm like, are the other students working like this? And he's like hesitant to answer, because most likely there's no way they could all be working 12, 13-hour days like this. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, he actually has I could tell, like a real calling and a passion for what he's doing. And this is actually good, because this is allowing him to go above and beyond and actually show, and who knows, maybe what, I scanned his heart a few times in knowing him, and I don't find him to be truly just so selfish, even though this is the tendency of the conditioned living entity, that we happen to be selfish, at least while we're conditioned in this material world or bound up. But, this is ultimately, Krishna is talking about this, if they did not expect benefit for themselves, they would not reciprocate. But then he says, my dear slender-waisted gopis, some people are genuinely merciful, or like parents, naturally affectionate. Such persons who devotedly serve even those who fail to reciprocate with them are following the true faultless path of religion, and they are true well-wishers. So he's explaining, what it is like actually like to be a true well-wisher to others. And he says, then there are those individuals who are spiritually self-satisfied, materially fulfilled, or by nature ungrateful, or simply envious of superiors. Such persons will not love even those who love them. What to speak of those who are inimical? So ultimately, and this is it here, being ungrateful. This is we should try to be very very grateful for well, some people who are spiritually, like, they're self-satisfied. They want to avoid entanglement in mundane dealings. They don't want to get like really entangled. That's, a liberated soul. This is kind of one of the reasons they kind of renounce from the world. They don't want to get entangled in so many things. But then there's also those who are just naturally ungrateful, who people are trying to show them love and affection and help. But ultimately, what I think about is a lot of times we try and set up like a little table and try and talk to people, hand out food and be like, hey, you should check this out, and most people, like, I don't even want to see what you're doing. I don't even want to know anything that you're doing. So anyhow, he concludes, but the reason I do not immediately reciprocate the affection of living beings, even when they worship me, O gopis, is that I want to intensify their loving devotion. They then become like a poor man who has gained some wealth and then lost it, and who thus becomes so anxious about it that he can think of nothing else. So this is one of God's strategies. And he says, understanding that simply for my sake you had rejected the authority of worldly opinion, of the Vedas, and of your relatives, I acted as I did only to increase your attachment to me. Even when I removed myself from your sight by suddenly disappearing, I never stopped loving you. Therefore, my beloved gopis, please do not harbor any bad feelings towards me, your beloved. I'm not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties, which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. So this is kind of a snapshot of ultimately we should see what the Lord is doing in our lives. And these are the topmost devotees, actually. The gopis are said to be the topmost devotees. We shouldn't, jump in head first into Gopi Lila and all these things, because actually there's a step ladder to how to get there, how to properly appreciate it, and how to take it in a way that's not being a prakrita sahajya, it's called, or becoming materially engrossed with what you hear, and misinterpreting and taking it the wrong way. But ultimately, this is teaching us what the end game of bhakti could look like. That we could be so so much devoted and so much. We're just offering now, huh? Oh boy. I hope you don't mind. We have to go over like maybe 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes, because the offering must be complete. So anyhow, this is our process to approach the Lord, and we should be so grateful that we have even the process. We should be grateful for this human life. we should be grateful that, we have basic knowledge and understanding of teachings like Bhagavad Gita. We should be grateful that there is a tier of bhakti and how it progresses and how you can go further and further, even beyond the scope of karma, jnana, and yoga altogether, and transcend those three things into pure Uttama Bhakti. There's so much we can and should be grateful for. So, like I mentioned, gratitude is a quality of what's called Sangha Siddha Bhakti. Means it's associated with bhakti. Bhaktas are naturally grateful. But being sharing just gratitude alone is not a limb of bhakti. So, because there's many material people who will have no devotion, but they can show signs of gratitude. And that's not so much recommended. But what is recommended is that we are grateful for our relationship with the Lord. We are grateful with our relationship with the Lord's many devotees. I could tell a story. Well, first, is there any questions? And then if not, I can tell you a story about a level of gratitude that a hunter once showed to Narada Muni. It's a nice story. But first, questions and maybe discussion. Anyone? No one has anything? Should I tell a story? Yes, McKenna.
So I was looking at this. I could be completely off base here. So if infinity ever expand,
Okay. Are you asking me if infinity is ever expanding?
yes, I have a follow-up question.
Okay. As far as I know, infinity is ever expanding, and it can't be quantified. And actually, when they talk about the competition between Krishna's qualities and his devotees' bhakti or love for them, it's said to be that's ever expanding. So, if that is, that must be a quality of infinity. So I'd say yes.
Oh,
Yes.
but there's 8,400,000 species, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I looked up with Bhagavad, who says that there's 8.7. So I'm not saying that the 8.4 is correct, but because this would want to be correct that there's 8.7 since everything is ever expanding.
I mean, it said there's 8.4 million types of bodies or types of species. I don't know what Dr. Google's talking about, and whether he's quantified that there's 8.7 million or billion different types of, maybe, like you could have 100,000 different types of birds, or like, but they might not in the 8.4 million calculation, they might all be in one category like that. So I don't know. I don't.
It says 8.4 million yonis. Yonis and species are now directly interchangeable. So like what he said, like it could be like different, if there are two species, they could be part of the same yoni.
So that's a good question, but I'm definitely not an expert on any of all the species. I just know what the Vedas say. And so it's kind of beyond my quantification, and I'm like, all right, I trust that. But anything else? You want to hear a story? Okay, this is the power of Sadhu Sangha. You've all heard of Narada Muni before? You should find Narada Muni in this book if that's possible. So Narada Muni, he's very well known about being such a merciful personality. It's explained in the Bhagavatam how he actually was able to achieve the status of Narada Muni, or a complete Uttama Bhakta. with no tinge of karma, jnana, or yoga left, purely resting in bhakti. If you want to know, read the first 5 chapters of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and you can hear about this. So anyhow, Narada Muni, he assists all of the Lord's Leelas. He's very much interested in enhancing the Lord's Leelas and ultimately spreading compassion for all the living entities who are bereft of bhakti. So we should be very grateful that there are devotees like Narada Muni who have the best interest of humanity. And actually, there is no way that we receive bhakti without at least one of these devotees impacting us in some way. Like even for me, I didn't actually get direct association of a devotee, but all the devotees who worked hard to put out Srila Prabhupada's books, I somehow or other found a book, and that book changed my life. And I'm so grateful that these compassionate devotees served Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada came to the West to spread these teachings in English that I never would have had access to through my birth. And I was able to read these books and have a life transformation. So Narada Muni is one of the ultimate types of devotees, of the highest caliber. So this is one of the pastimes of Narada Muni. Have you ever heard of the story of Mrgari the hunter? Anyone who went to the Cornell program the other day, you should have heard this story, because Prabhu is actually telling this story. But I actually was reading in my daily reading today, and this story came up again, and I said, oh, maybe I'll tell this story tonight. Because it's a reason that we should be very grateful to the devotees. Srila Prabhupada was quoted as, he was asked, what is the most important thing for spiritual realization, spiritual advancement? And he said 2 things. The first is, what, Meghna? Sadhu Sangha. Yes, the association of those who are familiar with the truth and are sharing and spreading the truth. And he said the second thing. What is the second thing? Yes, it's Sadhu Sangha. It was a joke. He was double emphasizing this is the only really important thing. Because without Sadhu Sangha, sadhus make sadhus. Bhakti makes bhakti. Without the influence of the bhakti of the other, it's not like you're going to earn it and do it all on your own. You have to get, even any type of material endeavor, very rarely does someone just discover or invent or do something all on their own. They're usually impacted by many others, teachers and inspirations and gurus and things like this, who help to transform them and help them do great things. Just like every one of you, our first gurus are our parents. We should be very grateful for our parents. Without our parents' tutelage, we wouldn't have learned to walk, we wouldn't have learned to talk, we wouldn't have learned so many of the proper things in life. So similarly in spiritual life, we need spiritual guidance. And we should spend much of our life trying to find high-class spiritual guidance and take instruction from them. So Narada Muni, this is the glory of Narada Muni. One time he was traveling in the forest. Actually, it was in Piyush's hometown, the forest of Prayag. And so, anyone else from Prayag here? That's all right. So this happened right in your backyard, Piyush. So anyhow, Mrgari, there was a hunter, and Narada Muni is walking along the path, and he sees like a rabbit on the ground squirming like it was injured very badly, but it's like squirming, trying to stay alive. And Narada Muni is so disturbed to see this. Oh my God. And then he continues to go on, and then he sees the same with a deer. And then he goes on and he sees the same with a bird. He's just horrified. What kind of person would do this? What is going on here? Why are these animals squirming for their life? So then he sees a very dark-skinned hunter with copper red eyes, looked very fearsome. And so Narada Muni said, he must be the culprit. So Narada Muni goes up to him and actually releases the animals from his many traps. And the hunter gets kind of, what are you doing? But he sees Narada Muni, who's like a fulgent saintly personality. And so he realized he has some Narada Muni is like, is this you who is leaving all these animals like this? He's like, yes, I get great pleasure in this is what my father taught me to hunt like this. And so Narada Muni, he said to him, well, do you know that any harm that you do to another in this life, you will have to receive that same harm in a future lifetime. As you reap, you sow. So the Christian teaching goes, or karma. So Mrigari he actually, because he had a good heart, he actually became fearful. He said, wait a second, I never really thought that. Most people who do many sinful things, um, they don't actually understand, that, oh, I'm going to have to pay for this. I can't just do anything and everything that I want. There's consequences to every one of my actions. Like in Bhagavad Gita, the teaching of karma. It's not just a whimsical thing. Or you can't just say, well, now I'm a devotee. So now I chant Hare Krishna, so I can just do anything and everything. No, this is an offense to the Nama Parad. This is committing sins on the strength of the holy name. So anyway. So Mrigari didn't really know. He was ignorant to the fact that, oh, wait a second. I never considered I was just taught like this. So he said, well, Narada, this is what my father told me. And Narada said, well, better that you just kill them. If you're going to hunt, just kill them full. But then Mrigari, he was saying, well, but I'm now very fearful of my sinful reactions. If I keep killing, then I'll be implicated. I'm going to have to get killed over and over again. So he was thinking like this. So Narada Muni said, okay, if you want, do you want me to teach you the highest knowledge so that you can be free from this thing? Mrigari said, yes. So he tested him. He said, break your bow. So Mrigari was like, this is my livelihood. It'd be like telling someone, quit your job. Oh my God, what is my livelihood? What do you mean? He said, do you have faith in what I will teach you? And he said, yes, of course. So Narada Muni, just to give him more faith, he revived all of the animals that he had half killed. So now Mrigari said, yes, I'll do this. And he broke the bow. So Mrigari broke the bow. And so now, what should you do? And he said, go get a tulsi plant. Give all your possessions to the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. Give all your possessions away to the deep spiritualists, the saintly, and go into the forest with your wife, because he had a wife. Build a thatched cottage, plant the tulsi plant, and you take one fallen leaf daily, and you take care of her, and you chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. You chant the Mahamantra. You chant the names of the Lord. Everything will come to you. Everything will come to you that you need. So, so Mrigari said, okay, I trust you. So he broke his bow, he took his wife, he gave away all his possessions that he had acquired through killing. And what did he do? He built a thatched cottage and he started chanting and performing bhajan with his wife daily. And so Narada Muni, then he doesn't stay anywhere very long. He went off and he continues his mercy tour throughout the universe. So then Narada Muni, he comes back maybe some months later. So what ends up happening, Mrigari asked him, how will I get food? And he said, you just chant the holy names and everyone will provide everything that you need. So what ended up happening is they heard that Mrigari, the well-known fearsome hunter, has given away all his possessions and become a saintly man who just does bhajan in the forest. We must go see this transformation. So all the village people around start to go to see this person who's transformed his life. And they start giving, it's etiquette when you go to like a lot of times when you go to a temple or when you go to visit a saintly person, you should come bearing some gift. It's usual etiquette that you come bearing some gift, a food offering, something like this. So they were offering him so much food. You know, a lot of times Cage visits here, and he has the nice etiquette. He's always bringing nice, beautiful gifts so we can prepare boga for the Lord and ultimately for you guys, and the ashram boys, and so on. So they started giving him so much food that not only could 2 people eat sufficiently, but like 10 or 20 people could eat sufficiently. But Narada Muni's instruction is like, you take only that which you need. And if you do like this, and he was very faithful. So Narada Muni, Shri Shri Sachi Sutta Nitai ki, Shri Vadu Gopal ki, Shri Shri Kalad Narasimha ki, Vrinda Devi Tulsi Maharani ki, Jai. So, so Mrgari did just like this. And so Narada Muni, he was hanging out with Parvata Muni. You've heard of Parvata Muni? He's another great Muni. You know, mystic abilities. He's in the Vedas, Puranas, in many places. So he says, come, we're near Prayag again. I want to visit my devotee, Mrgari. And so he goes with Parvata Muni. And Mrgari sees Narada and Parvata approaching, and he gets very enlivened. Oh, this is my spiritual master. This is who gave me so much spiritual knowledge. So he's bowing from a distance. But then all of a sudden, he wants to, bow down at Narada's feet. But he sees that there's a bunch of ants on the ground. Now, this was the same hunter who was killing every animal half dead and taking great pleasure in watching animals squirm. So he's taking his like chadar or loincloth and he's just trying to shift the ants out of the way so that he can bow down before Narada Muni. And Parvata Muni explains, this was a hunter? He asked Narada Muni, he's like, yes, he was a hunter, but now he's my devotee. He said, he will not even want to hurt an ant. And he said, Narada, you are truly a touchstone, because anyone who comes in contact with you becomes saintly. Because a hunter is seen, especially in Vedic culture, is probably maybe the least civilized, someone who is no compassion. But for him to have such a transformation and become a saint, but it's actually funny because when Mrgari saw Narada offering obeisances, and he said, I have to tell you something. Everything you said came to pass. People give me way more than I need, but actually you need to tell them to stop giving so much. We can't use all these things. We only have to give all of this away. And so Narada is explaining, this is the process. When you take and dedicate time, when you maybe break your bow, and you give everything to the Lord, everything comes. I'm seeing this in my life more and more. The more I break my worldly shackles, and the more I really devote myself to bhajan, everything is there that is needed. And just when I think I don't know how I'm going to make it, I don't know how it's going to work out, Krishna sends the exact person or resource or whatever is needed will come. And it comes in so many varieties of ways. So this gift, we can all be grateful for. This gift's available for everyone. It's a touchstone. It's not just the Mahamantra. It's the Mahamantra given by the saintly person. I wish I was a saintly person on the caliber of Narada Muni. I'm not even close. Not even close. But we're trying to practice here. We're under the tutelage of other saintly teachers. We cannot do this without the leadership of ISKCON and other Gaudiya Vaishnavas following under the Parampara or Acharya system of many, many great saints. This is a lineage of many, many great saints. And we're so grateful for them. And we follow in their footsteps to the best of our ability. Why? Because they are giving the ultimate jewel, the ultimate success. And it's free of charge. What did Mrgari have to do? In India, to get a tulsi plant was not very difficult at all for him. Here, it's a little bit more difficult. And especially to care for it in the winters of Syracuse, it's a little bit more difficult. But still, it's not very difficult. The light came out of nowhere from Mukunda. And I paid my friend who runs a greenhouse, I think $30 for the pod and the soil and the plant last year, and we have been keeping hers ever since. And the other Tulsis came freely. So anyhow, we worship Tulsi, we chant Hare Krishna, we worship the deities, and we offer everything to the deities and then to the community around us. And we're so grateful. We're just so grateful that there's even really nice people like yourself who are coming here and appreciating. And even if they're not appreciating, because maybe some of you are still have reservation, I don't know about these people. No problem. Just come, hear this Maha Mantra, eat the prasad, receive the Lord's mercy in whatever way you can. And actually, it will have an impact, no matter what. Even if you don't transform your life, no problem. That we don't need anyone to break their bow and trust us. Yes, go chant in the forest, Richa. You don't have to go to school anymore. No, we're not telling like this. Only Narada can tell like this. But ultimately, we're giving you a field of study, and that we have enough faith that if you did quit your job or if you did do this and you really just devoted yourself just to the Lord, it would be taken care of. We have enough faith to assert this. Not that we recommend this, but if you're ever in a difficult situation in life, um, you know, take it as the Lord's mercy and, surrender more to the Lord in that time, and you'll see the mercy comes. And not just the thing that you want or need, that will come too. But actually your faith will deepen and your devotion will deepen, and that's the real treasure. So that's my story. The offering is done. Thanksgiving feast is ready. So thank you so much. It's such a blessing. I'm sorry we went over about a half hour today. That's not the intention. But yes, they must have made some extra special Thanksgiving preparations for you guys. So anyhow, thank you again for coming. Most of you are students, so obviously we know that not much supports in the form of gifts and things like that are probably going to happen. But if anything, just tell your friends, that hey, there are these nice people. They're talking about some Vedic concepts and they're feeding us some nice free food and things like that. We'd love to have more people get benefited from this. Everyone can benefit tremendously through this process, and I hope you all. I'm so grateful for this process. I'm so grateful for what was given to me, and I'm just trying to share it as an act of gratitude, because that's what I know the teachers who had given it to me. That's what they want. Is they want this causeless compassion to keep spreading. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who we worship on the altar, had predicted and emphasized that we should bring this to every town and village. So yes, even here in Syracuse, New York, I bet you a lot of you, when you were coming to America, were not thinking that you would find a little Veda Cultural Center down the street from the university, trying to practice something that maybe you thought was definitely not going to be here in this country. But yes. A lot of the boys like Piyush and Tanmay and Parth, they, in India, they didn't necessarily find their connection so deeply to spiritual life. And then they came here and somehow or other, Krishna had really pulled them. And so maybe that'll happen with you guys too. You're welcome to do that. This is Prabhupada's mercy. Prabhupada is like Narada Muni, where he's a touchstone. Any place that he touches with his mercy will bear all kinds of wonderful fruits and fulfill all kinds of desires. Anything you want or need comes from this process. I promise you this. You'll never be bereft of anything. Never be bereft of anything. So anyhow, Hari Bol. Thank you guys so much. Hare Krishna, happy Thanksgiving, and please go in this way, take prasad, and we'll have the serving team work it out for you guys, and then yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.